Our next example comes from AtSite, working over in the US. They're a sustainable buildings company, and they're working here with the American Society of Hematology. They'd purchased a new building to house their headquarters in Washington, and they wanted to do kind of a couple of things with that building. They wanted to first of all demonstrate their commitment to energy efficiency and sustainability as a whole. They also wanted obviously lower running costs, as we all do, and they wanted to thirdly make it a nice place for people to work. It was their HQ and they wanted it to be a kind of flagship building. They used their aM&T system in this way. They replaced any outdated mechanical systems that were of no longer any use. They then stuck with some of their legacy controls that they could utilise and added some new controls in there as well, and they brought all of those into one system using the Tritium Jace Niagara platform. That enabled them to look at the entire site with multiple different sorts of hardware, but feed it all into one central place. Some examples of the analysis they've done are shown there. They did a regression analysis again of gas consumption against temperature, a surface mapping report to show specific high energy usage areas, and a day comparison, again to make sure that things weren't being left on all weekend or bank holiday when people weren't on site. Now, by doing that, they've managed to achieve a few things. They've reduced their electricity consumption by 9%, water is down a massive 19%, and their carbon footprint has also been dramatically improved. They've done that not only by reducing their energy consumption, but also working to put renewable energy technologies in place. Alongside that, and quite unusually, I think they've also managed to make it a nicer place to work. So they actually conducted surveys with their staff to find out what they thought about this as a place to work. And everyone genuinely came along and said once the energy management system had been put in place and they'd made changes, they actually found it was better. It was better lit, it was warmer, it was at the right temperature. From an acoustic perspective, it was also better. And you can see a quick graph taken from their aM&T system there, showing the predicted consumption of water in green and the actual consumption in the blue bars. You can very quickly see they actually managed to outperform what they thought they might ever achieve by using aM&T in their building. Our next example comes from OneSite Solutions, who are a systems integrator here in the UK. The client here is One Hyde Park. You might have heard of it. Some of you might live there, I don't know. It actually houses the world's most expensive flat at £140 million. It's got its own shared facilities area, including a swimming pool, a golf simulator, a wine cellar, a load of stuff that consumes a load of energy. And the service charges alone are £100,000 to live on this site. So what they wanted to do there is look at energy consumption and also be able to bill their tenants. Ironically, once you're paying £100,000 in service charges, it actually doesn't cover your energy bills. So what did they do? Well, they monitored every single utility in every single apartment, again using a Tritium Jace system. They accumulated all that data and fed it into eSight via Obix. They could then analyse that data for efficiency potential. And one of the key things that they really did as well was use a tenant billing module to enable them to automatically send bills out to every client on site. And obviously to do that, they needed those utility meters in at every apartment level. So what did they achieve? Well, they've got their efficient automated tenant billing process down to a key now. That was all sorted. And the other thing they've managed to do is monitor and improve the efficiency of the shared areas. Obviously, when a facility is shared, it instantly becomes a bit of a problematic area from an energy management perspective because no one person really will take responsibility for turning off lights, turning off heating, and those sorts of things. So by monitoring it and targeting it, the building management company is able to do that. So a good example there of it being used in kind of quite a residential setting. Our final example today comes from the Ricoh Arena, which I thought would be a nice one to cover as we're all here. As you've probably noticed, it's a pretty massive site, encompassing not only this massive exhibition area, but a 32,000-seat stadium, which you can just see out the window, a casino, a health club, a hotel, a cafe, all sorts of stuff. They have around 1 million visitors every year, so it's a well-used site, and their energy usage alone, there is 11 million kilowatt hours, of which over half was going to aircon. So the Ricoh Arena wanted to obviously work on reducing their energy consumption, but they also wanted to raise energy management awareness, both amongst their staff and also amongst those million visitors. Here's what they did. They started off by installing 93 meters, but they later added another 110 to that because they wanted to look at very specific areas in the site. They were able to then audit that in very pinpointed areas. They formed a trained energy management team, got an energy policy in place, which is part of a larger facilities management team all working together. And they used that one energy management system to solve all of their needs. some of which I've kind of listed here. One was there were initially manual meter readings, so by inputting aM&T and a full metering system, they were obviously able to cut that instantly. That meant the facilities management team were actually freed up to go and do the real work they're trained to do. It also enabled them to start preparing and reporting for CRC purposes, which is obviously going to become a bugbear for more and more of us. It enabled them to automatically report to their board on a weekly basis on any KPIs they wanted to see. They were able to also see the ROI on any investments they had made, and they've started to make some changes already, but I know they've also got a new LED lighting plan evolving, and to be able to prove the ROI on those projects and get more buy-in is perfect for them to continue making those changes. Another thing they've done is they've used tenant billing to automatically send bills out to other users of the site. So you've probably noticed there's a De Vere hotel here, there's also a health club. There's a number, I think there's Yorkshire Bank here as well, and what they wanted to do is to be able to bill those tenants specifically based on their consumption, not just their proportion of area that they're using. And probably the key thing they've also done is identify the anomalies in their energy usage and made some changes to reduce their consumption by rectifying those. Finally, the last thing they've done most recently, and you'll see this down in the foyer if you're down there a bit later heading back to the car, they've actually now got an Easy Dash dashboard in the foyer area to try and engage their 1 million public visitors every year into their energy management process. So what they wanted to do, they wanted to get buy-in, both from staff so that they start to make actual changes in the offices that they're using, but also amongst those visitors to make sure they're aware it's a green venue and they are really making some changes to make it a better place to be and also a very efficient place in terms of energy. So what have they achieved by doing that? Well, their electricity is down 15%, their water consumption is down 13%, and their gas is down 6%. And alongside achieving all of that, they've also managed to get massive buy-in from staff and visitors alike. So a nice example there of somewhere that you can see it actually happening in action. So I just wanted to run through some of the top tips that have come out of those case studies we've seen. First of all, from BuildIt over in Greece, following this MAIE process they found was absolutely key in getting the Metropolitan Hospital kind of in sync with their energy management process. Benchmarking is another key tactic they use to compare against other hospitals in the area. Sure, they might have been lower technology hospitals, but it's great to have some sort of comparison. They're also using alarms to react instantly to any anomalies in their energy usage. The tips from AtSite, first of all, they said obviously for their, the client there, the Society of Haematology, the key thing for them was finding a system that they could integrate both old and new hardware into. It's no good having your energy management data all over the show. It's very difficult to analyse that. You need it in one central place. The other key thing they found from their project was to share the energy information with your employees and also get feedback on how they found it as a place to be so that we could really get an optimal solution of, sure, improved energy consumption, but also it being a good place to be. The top tips from Carlsberg were, first of all, to plan a training programme for the staff that are using the aM&T system. It's no good people having access to this data if A, they have no inclination or no knowledge to do anything with it, and also to build a reporting structure so that reports are generated automatically, but they are actually used and reviewed, and there's meetings held about them on a daily basis. Another key thing was to get boat ownership throughout the site, so really to get buy-in from all the staff there who are having an impact on energy consumption. And the top tips from the Ricoh Arena, first of all, know your building. They really have, as you've seen, implemented a lot of meters to make sure they can pinpoint it down to the very finest level. And they've invested in technologies and been able to use their aM&T to prove that the ROI on those investment projects. They've also used their energy management system to help them prepare for CRC. And they're utilising dashboards as well to make sure they get the information across to the public, across to the staff, and they get that buy-in so that people start to make a change. So I hope that gives you just a nice little overview of people who are using aM&T quite successfully and in very different ways and in different sectors. If there's any sectors I haven't covered that you want to know a little bit more about, feel free to come and see us later, and we'll happily chat to you about a few more examples. And equally, I'd like it if you can come and share your stories with us. Thanks for your time.